All right, what's going on, guys? It's Rest and welcome to another video. Now this one, I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. I really want to know if you guys enjoy this type of content, want to see more like it in the future. I'm actually going to be responding to a lot of your guys' comments that I've left on some of these community posts over the past couple of days. This one specifically is the question, do you think Destiny 1 or Destiny 2 is the better game? And as of recording this, percentage wise, 84% of people are saying Destiny 2 is better and 16% are saying Destiny 1 is better. This could change by the time this video gets posted, but obviously I think it's very clear that Destiny 2 does seem to be the better game in a lot of people's eyes. But I wanted to go in that community post and actually respond to a couple of these comments in this video and just generally talk about everybody's opinions on everything and kind of give my idea of what I think is the better game as well. Also, I want to go on and say in advance, if I do pronounce your name wrong, I am extremely sorry. You can flame me in the comments below, but let's just jump right into it. So our first comment is from T Cruising for Life. I miss D1 so much. I wish we could have that vibe with all the good changes and stories added to D2, and I will never forget D2's launch. I quit after 1 month. I can definitely relate to that. I miss D1 a lot. I really wish D2 did have the D1 vibe, but I honestly think that's just a nostalgia thing going off. Everybody obviously grows up, and I think when we played D1 back in the day, you know, maybe a lot of people didn't have as much responsibilities as people do now, and the game just feels a little different. You can't just enjoy your time 100% of it, just diving into everything. But I 100% do agree. I will never forget the launch of D2. I was so excited for it. I even remember playing on Xbox at the time, being in a call with a bunch of my friends. We were just all giddy because it actually did release at midnight, which is obviously way different now, where everything releases like 1 or, you know, noonish now. So we were all just very excited for it, and then we got into it within like a week, oh, like you said, a month in the comments. It just kind of died off. This is when I actually took a break from the game as well. I did come back for Curse of Osiris, and then I somehow managed to stay through that. But obviously, I think it was a good decision because I think we are in a very good spot now. Now, the next comment is Luperini. As much nostalgia as I have for D1, D2 is far superior in gameplay and story, though currently lacking story easily accessible to new players. I mean, look at some of the exotics as an example. Lumina, Symmetry, some of the exotic armors have unique abilities to, like Kefri's Horn. Far different from D1. And this right here, again, I agree with this completely, especially in build crafting ways. Like you said in the post, there are so many exotics that, you know, actually work with certain subclasses now with all the 3.0 things. And there's also exotics that are just way cooler, way more unique than they ever were in D1. Sure, a lot of Destiny 1 exotics are currently back in the game, but some of them also did get changed. And I don't really think there is an argument for D1 exotics being better for D2, other than maybe something like Zalo's Supercell. I wish that would come back to the game because that was extremely fun, but I guess that is sort of similar to Risk Runner. But for sure, I do have a lot of nostalgia for D1, but I think D2 is by far the superior game. Now we have Dat Milk saying, I know I'm wearing my nostalgia glasses, but not having a job and playing D1 all day, actually grinding a subclass, leveling up with PvP, actually good exotic quests, pocket infinity, no hackers on console. D2 is better gameplay wise and the quality of life, but man, I miss those days. And that's exactly like I was saying in the first comment. I think we all view Destiny 1, or people that at least think Destiny 1 was better, because of this specific reason. Literally, we were a lot younger at the time. The game is like 7-8 years old now at this point. I think it's coming up on its 8th year with Lightfall. I mean, that was a long time ago back when we played D1. You know, a lot of us were still in school, even high school. A lot of us obviously didn't have as much responsibilities as we do now. And you just got to play the game all day and grind it 24/7. I do wish they would bring back some of the grind that they had in D1, especially like grinding subclasses and stuff instead of just, you know, buying it with Glimmer. I think that could be a little bit different, but I would imagine like the new subclass like Strand and obviously with Stasis, you kind of do grind it, but obviously with the older 3.0 subclasses, they probably had to do it like that because they want new players to have access to it instead of having to buy a DLC. But I also do miss those days a lot, and I would honestly give anything to have that feeling again. Now we have Evolved Monkey 97 that says, all my nostalgia for D1 stems from the Taken King. D2 has King's Fall now, ... D2 wins. Now, I like this comment. This is actually really funny. Again, a lot of people's nostalgia also is driven from Taken King. A lot of people like to say D1 at launch was the go-to. I honestly just don't agree with that. Taken King is what completely shaped Destiny to what it is now. Don't get me wrong, Destiny 1 at launch was still really fun, but just how everything changed when Taken King came out, and again, also the fact that D2 King's Fall is now in the game, it is just so nice to have that back. Now we have Burns0100 saying Destiny 1 had some awesome features, but Destiny 2 is the better version. Still would love to have the featured playlist activities on the orbit screen and strike specific loot and cosmetics, as well as faction skin. Again, we're seeing a trend here. Destiny 1 was awesome, but I think we all do agree that Destiny 2 is by far the better game if you are comparing the two on paper. It would be cool to have some of that stuff back. I don't think factions are ever going to come back, RIP Lakshmi, but having something sort of similar would be cool, and for sure bring back strike specific loot. I guess they kind of already did in a way with Nightfalls and the fact you can farm adept weapons and GMs, which I think is really cool, but obviously that's not really specific and they can kind of be in whatever rotation they are in the current season. But yeah, I do agree that would be really cool if they could bring stuff like that back. Now we have Swift Gaming saying long live Icebreaker and No Land Beyond. Now if you are a D1 player, you for sure know what these two exotics are. They honestly completely broke the game in the sense that No Land Beyond was infinite ammo sniper rifle in PvE. Same as Icebreaker as well, actually. They just performed a little different because No Land Beyond was a primary weapon. Icebreaker regenerated special ammo over time. It was extremely strong, it was very fun, and they both looked very cool, but I highly doubt we ever see those back in Destiny 2. Now we have Apple New Moon saying Destiny 2 is better overall, but 1 has the best grind and looking armor and ornaments, and the best rate rewards as well for masters. Now I see this comment a lot talking about how the armor and ornaments are always better in Destiny 1. Now we have another comment again, Destiny 2 is better overall, but this one specifically somehow the grind is better in D1, and I do agree with that. I remember grinding a lot of D1 so much, but again, I think that may just be nostalgia glasses on and the fact that I didn't have a lot of other things to worry about in my life at the time. And also I see a lot of people talk about how the armor and ornaments are better in D1, and I think a lot of people are specifically looking at the Age of Triumph armor, which I can 100% agree with, but I do think there is a lot of armor in Destiny 2 that does actually look really cool, that doesn't get enough credit, and I think you can pair them extremely well, obviously, with transmog. But I really wish we could see Age of Triumph ornaments back in the game, especially since we're getting all the raids. I mean, who knows, maybe they'll release another Age of Triumph. Once we get all the old D1 raids back in the game, we will get those ornaments. They could be saving up for that, who knows. But I honestly do believe that it is pretty split on both D1 and D2 having really cool armor sets, because I mean, there is a lot of really cool armor in D2. And for sure, the raid rewards in Masters are extremely better than they are in Destiny 2. There's almost no incentive at all to do master raids in Destiny 2 unless you want the title. Once you get that, you're probably never going to go in there again. So I would like to see a buff to that, and I think they are working on that. I'm pretty sure they said the adept weapons will drop with enhanced perks in the coming future at some point. Now we have DiGiorno saying D2 is technically the better game, but D1 was a much better experience overall. In its current state, D2 is almost impossible to get into as a new player. I 100% agree that D2 is the better game, and I think it's hard to say that D1 was a much better experience. If you are specifically talking about new players, since you did make the second comment on this post, I do agree with you 100%. But I think the experiences in Destiny 2, when they are very good, are very equal to Destiny 1, if not better. I really wish they would bring back secret missions like they've done in the past Destiny 2. I mean, Whisper of the Worm and Outbreak Perfected were some of the most loved things in the game. I really wish something like that would come back. But 100% sure, D2 is almost impossible to get into if you are a new player. I really hope they fix this with Lightfall, since they're doing all those new light systems. I think that could really fix the game, get everybody into the game, figure out what they're doing. But as of now, I have actually seen a lot of new players come into the game that just are completely lost, and that is what I'm trying to do on this channel. I have so many people talking about when I make a build that they make this, you know, 5, 6, 7 months ago, and my response to them is that I'm literally just trying to help new players out, or obviously update so veteran players can see it, and maybe we can obviously, you know, compare and contrast our builds if you do have somewhat similar. This game is extremely hard for new people, and myself and a lot of other content creators are doing their best they can to try to help explain stuff to them and help keep them in the game, because as of now, it is just really difficult. I really hope with Lightfall that does change though. Now we have Grimlock 1997 here saying, as a D1 beta vet, Destiny 2 is objectively better. Sure, there are some things from D1 I wish would be implemented into D2, but there's small things that are basically quality of life changes. D2 has better abilities, better mobility, better graphics obviously, and the story is leagues better than I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain. This pretty much sums up everything. Yes, there are some things at D1 that were a little bit better, but D2 is obviously objectively better. The story is so much better. The graphics, again, like you said, obviously are so much better. The graphics are, even for the game being so old now it is at this point, the graphics are still one of my favorite graphic looking games ever in any video game. I just love the art style. I love how everything looks. I love the skybox, literally everything. It's all just so good. The builds, the abilities, mobility, everything, it's so much better. This is a perfect comment that can pretty much sum up every single one in this entire thread. Now we have FIBA Day and 6 coming right here. I know Destiny 2 is technically the better game, but it's so streamlined, it just doesn't feel as unique and fun as D1 did for me. Now, this is what I like to see. This is a very interesting comment, and it definitely gets you thinking a little bit. And again, Destiny 2 is technically a better game, but the streamlining of it is another topic that is very fun to talk about. Destiny 2 is obviously way more streamlined than Destiny 1 ever was. Obviously, Destiny 1 was kind of getting there towards the end of its life cycle, but obviously we have things like microtransactions. The seasonal model is very predictable at this point. Really, the only thing that comes to unique surprises is when huge DLC drops happen, which is obviously the most fun part in any game, really. But it does get very, very repetitive for a lot of players. For people that enjoy the game like me, I don't honestly mind the repetitiveness of it. Like, I get the next season's going to have another seasonal activity. It's going to be very similar to probably what we have now in the game, just in a different setting with different story, which I personally enjoy because I love the story of Destiny, but it definitely does not have that uniqueness for D1. Now, another counter argument to that is the fact that D1 went through a lot of times where it didn't have a lot of content. So sure, it wasn't streamlined enough, but there was also times where you just didn't have anything to play unless you just kept doing older stuff. I mean, Rise of Iron came out after a whole year of Taken King. There was literally nothing to do. There was no seasons in between that. There was like literally nothing. Like, it was just barren unless you just really like to grind Taken King over and over again. But like I said, I do like this comment a lot. And I also don't think streamlining the game is inherently a bad thing. It is what keeps games popular and keeps games going. I mean, even if you don't like the game, obviously things like Overwatch 2 just came out. They kind of did this in the way they streamlined the game. They added a battle pass, they added a roadmap, just seasonal content that's coming out, and the game's doing extremely well right now. You can say what you want about it, but I mean, it is definitely in a better spot overall than what it has been in these past years. Streamlining does work. It is a little annoying if you are an invested player, but it keeps the game alive, and if you enjoy the game, I think you kind of can look over it a little bit, especially if the systems are implemented correctly. Now we have Matui saying, I consider Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 the same game. They're Destiny. It's only that Destiny 1 is a version of Destiny forever locked in its time, while D2 is always changing. D1 is the same way before it ended. Now, I do agree with this again as well. It is just Destiny. Obviously, people can call it Destiny 1 or Destiny 2. And honestly, with the way they're going, with them putting Destiny 1 stuff in Destiny 2, they may just drop the 2 at some point and just call it Destiny again and just turn off the old D1 servers. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to go about that, but it is overall just Destiny. But I still think you can compare and contrast the two and see which one does do stuff better, because they are different games, but they are also the same game. Now we have Alan A saying, IMO Destiny 1 was better. Getting an exotic was like hitting the jackpot, and getting one was so satisfying. That feeling alone made Destiny 1 better. Now, I understand this comment, and I definitely understand the feeling of getting exotics, but I honestly don't think that exotics are super common in Destiny 2 to not have the feeling. Sure, you definitely do get them, and occasionally it seems like you can go on a spree, but honestly, I think with towards the end of Destiny 1, it's somewhat similar to what it is now. I mean, a lot of people do get their exotics from Xur, and you do have the ability to just farm exotics in Destiny 2 now, I guess, where you didn't really have in Destiny 1. But raids also dropped raid exotics. There were like exotic chests and raids. I don't know. This is an interesting comment because I don't particularly think that I'm not excited when an exotic drops, because obviously, you know, you have your stats to look out for, everything like that. But I also do understand that, you know, getting an exotic in Destiny 1 did feel good, but also at the same time, it really wasn't that meaningful because the stats didn't matter anywhere as much as they do in D2, in my opinion. And on top of that, the weapons also always felt the same. There was no different perks on the weapons, just like there are in Destiny 2, so there's really no difference with that. And in Destiny 2, weapons can't drop once you have all the weapons required, which I think is a very good change. Now we have Donk3E Punch Zero saying Borderlands. I'm not sure if that was the question, but Borderlands. All right, next comment. All right, now we have Chris XO right here with a lot, and I'm probably going to respond to this as I read it because I'm actually very interested in this one. So we have D1 was the better game. Back when Bungie actually cared and put effort into making the game better. All right, so starting off with the first comment, I think that's already just somebody that doesn't play the game a lot. Like, if you say Bungie doesn't care about the game right now, I think that is just not true at all. I don't even understand how you can have that opinion. The game is constantly evolving. They're hiring people every single day. They've already said they're committed to making this game the best it can be. They're working on 24/7. I mean, there's content, even though obviously some of the content is predictable. we're always getting content literally throughout the entire year now. That was unheard of in Destiny 1. Sure, the seasonal model is a little outdated at this point, and I wish they would change it up a little bit. But to say that they don't care about the game and that they care more about D1, it's just so weird to me. Obviously, they cared about D1 as well, and I don't want to argue which one they care about more, because I think they care about both of them similar. I mean, obviously at this point they care about D2 more since D1, you know, is not the active game currently playing. But like, to say they don't care about the game they're currently making is just laughable, honestly, and I don't understand how anyone could have that opinion. But then for one, the loot pool was massive and added more diversity in play. There was no such thing as meta, as you literally had an abundance to choose from and almost anything could work. Okay, so with this comment, also, Destiny 2 has way more of a bigger loot pool. There are literally people complaining that there are so many exotics in the game right now. It is extremely hard to farm lost sectors because your chances of getting them are slim to none. It is really hard to focus a specific exotic or, you know, specific thing you want to farm for because there is literally so much stuff in the game. Also, to say that there was no meta is also just ridiculous. The argument that there was more stuff, which is not even true, does not mean there wasn't a meta. In any FPS game, there's a lot of stuff you can use, but there's always going to be a meta option. There's always something meta in every single game you play. I don't know if you remember IS Luna, Matador, Felwinter's, but all the stuff that's really good in Destiny 2 right now was really good in Destiny 1, and that's the reason they brought it back. Like, that was the meta. Like, that was what everyone used. I would also even argue where you say almost anything could work. That's even more applicable in Destiny 2 than it was in Destiny 1. There was some stuff in Destiny 1 that was absolute trash and you just could never use it. At least in Destiny 2, you can kind of make it work, but sure, a lot of stuff still does need buffs. But again, that's with literally any game. Now we have, secondly, exotics actually felt like they were worthy of the title, not just meh breakdown material. Exotics are now just mid most of the time and are borderline useless and outperformed by legendaries that fill the same roles. It's virtually no reason exotics aren't the best weapons in the game, and why they aren't as rare and mythical feeling as they are in the lore. So right here, I honestly, at this point, I just am confused because exotics in Destiny 1 compared to Destiny 2 are literally nowhere similar. Exotics in Destiny 2 are way cooler, and they definitely deserve the title way more, I think, they did in D1. Now, to be fair, they are just meh breakdown materials because if you have the exotic, you don't really have to get the gun again, but that was the exact same way in Destiny 1. There was no reason to keep an exotic in Destiny 1, and once you got it, it was just a meh breakdown material. Exotics are for sure not mid most of the time and are most of the time the best weapons in the game. Sure, linear fusion rifles are the exception where they are a little bit better than Sleeper Simulant because they can roll with things like triple tap, but almost literally every single other exotic, unless it plays into other people using different weapons, some like Yellowhorn, are always going to be better. Like, I can't think of a time where Huckleberry is not better than every other SMG in the game, or even Whisper of the Worm is not better than literally every other sniper in the game if you are choosing a sniper rifle. Sure, some weapons aren't currently meta in certain sandboxes, but almost every single bit of the time exotics are better. Even in PvP, most of the time exotics are better. Ace of Spades is almost better than every other single hand cannon you can ever use in the entire game. And I also think that a lot of the exotics are rare and mythical feeling. I like the way that a lot of the exotics are in the game. Maybe they're not as rare anymore since you can, you know, relatively get stuff super easy or just do a quest, but I do think they still retain that mythical feeling, honestly, and I don't understand this a lot, honestly. But then we have, lastly, the grind was actually worth it, or at least felt like it. From farming blue engrams in hopes it turns into legendary, defeating raid bosses in hopes of a random exotic drop, strike specific gear, faction specific rewards, godly nightfall weapons, etc. Those aspects are completely missed from D2 and make the game feel redundant and boring after a while. Literally all it is a power grind down to the point by midway or at the end of the season you're burnt out. Now this one I do understand a lot more than the other ones I've read so far. The grind in Destiny 1 did feel a lot better. Just grinding power constantly every season does not feel good, and I think that is one of the biggest things they need to change other than the new light experience to get new players into the game, because it is very monotonous and a lot of players do get burnt out midway through the season. I also do think strike specific gear, you know, faction specific rewards, obviously I don't think factions are coming back like I said earlier in the video, but if something like that was back, I think that'd be cool. I think that could be cool. But godly nightfall weapons and, you know, raid bosses to drop exotics, all that is back in the game. A lot of the adept weapons from Nightfalls, maybe not in the current season, but most of them are extremely good and a lot of people do farm for them. Defeating raid bosses for exotic chances are also still in the game now. Everyone's trying to get Vex, everyone's trying to get Collective Obligation, everyone's trying to get Touch of Malice. That is in the game. So I don't really understand that part of the comment. because they definitely aren't missing from D2, but a lot of the other stuff I do agree with, and I really wish they would fix the power grind. And we have not to mention Crucible is just a joke compared to D1. Yes, it was filled to the brim with broken things and inconsistency as well as later matchmaking, but at the very least it was far more enjoyable experience than what it is now. The game has devolved into ability and healing spam, followed by a short list of meta weapons that outclass virtually everything else on the same terrible map rotations that they refuse to update. Now, I honestly don't play Crucible anywhere as much as I used to, and I do agree that Crucible was better back in D1. Again, this could be my nostalgia glasses on, but I used to have a blast playing it back in D1, and I really wish they would change things like map rotations as well. And overall, again, I will agree that in my opinion, D1 was a better Crucible experience. But I think the funniest thing about this is that you literally say that D1 was filled to the brim with broken things and inconsistency, when early in the post you said there was no such thing as a meta. The broken things are always going to be the meta. That doesn't line up, but I do agree. I definitely do think Crucible does need to be looked at. I also do think that the power grind does need to be looked at, but everything else just seems off, and I can't really get behind it or understand it. But I would love to know your guys' opinion on this specific post. Then finally, we have Heretic coming in with the most controversial thing, saying the D1 arrays were better except for Last Wish, but now they are coming back better than ever. So obviously this is opinion based, and I actually have made polls like this talking about which raids you think are better. I could do another video going over all those posts if you want me to, if you guys enjoyed these, but I honestly do think a lot of the D1 raids are amazing. I still think Wrath Machine might be my favorite raid ever in the game. Last Wish is very fun, but I do think a lot of the D2 raids are better than obviously things like Crota, even Vault of Glass. But the raids that did come back, I think they did do a great job at updating them and making them, fresh and new. But I don't think that every single raid in D1 are better than the raids in D2. But obviously, let me know what you guys think about that. This video has been going on for way too long. I'm 32 minutes in recording this, and my voice is dying. So I think I'm going to end it there. Please be sure to let me know what you guys thought about this content in the comments below, and if you would like to see me do more. If you have any ideas on what you would like to see, I can obviously do that as well. Don't worry though, builds and stuff are still coming, weapon reviews, everything like that. But I figured I would get a little bit more personal, just talk to you guys a little bit, respond to your comments, and yeah, I just really hope you guys enjoy. But I think that is going to do it all for me. Obviously, consider doing all the normal YouTube stuff if you enjoy, and if you want to join the Discord, that will be in my description as well. Maybe I can even do a Discord video like this. But for real, thank you all so much for watching this one, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.